They're brawny, a little bit bulky, definitely bold, and certainly fashionably late to the party, but are they any good? Welcome back, everybody. I'm Caleb Dennison, and today I'm very excited to check out the Bose QuietComfort earbuds. Now, earlier I said fashionably late to the party. That's kind of Bose's thing, right? They aren't necessarily first to come out with a new product, but when they do, they claim it's the best and it stands for a while. They don't update these kinds of things very often. So I think that we're going to be holding on to these for quite a while. And while we're here reviewing them, I thought I'd bring the AirPods Pro along for the ride, because we're talking about two products that are really targeting a very similar audience, but in very different ways. I'm really interested to see how this plays out, so let's get to it. So let's start with what's in the box, which is not much and very similar to the AirPods Pro. You get the buds in the case, as well as a USB-C charging cable, although I should mention that this case is also capable of wireless charging, and then a couple of different options for ear tips. So there are 3 in all in the package. And I should mention right now that these ear tips, they come with little fins on them for security, and they are not optional. They're built into it. So you get 3 different size options. The ear tips are oval and the fins are built on. Now let's talk about the elephant in the room, and I'm talking about this case. It's big, large, and in charge, much bigger than the AirPods Pro, which means that it is not pocketable, unfortunately. It does need to be this big because the buds inside are rather big themselves, and we'll look at that in a second. I do like the fact that there are 5 LEDs on the front, so you know what the charge status is for the case without pulling out your phone. Otherwise, my only real gripe here is that you're not going to be putting this in your pocket, so find something else to shove it in to carry it around. As long as we're talking about the case, let's talk about charging capabilities. So the buds themselves are capable of about 6 hours of playtime per charge, and then the case adds another 12 on top of that. So you're talking about 18 hours total charge. Also, 15 minutes of charging in the case will get you 2 hours of playtime. Now, on paper, that doesn't look quite as good as the AirPods Pro. With the AirPods Pro, you get 5 hours of playtime without noise canceling, 4.5 hours with noise canceling, and that kind of varies really depending on how loud you're playing your music or your movies or what have you. Talk time is a little bit lower at about 3 to 3.5 hours, but the case will get you about 24 hours of total playtime in the best of scenarios. We have found that that is not necessarily the case with the AirPods Pro, which brings up an interesting point. If you've been having trouble with the battery in your AirPods Pro, definitely look into whether they're serviceable. There's a recall out there. Anyway, back to the Bose. The reason why I think they are perfectly sufficient in terms of battery life is that they actually punch above their claim. I've gotten 7.5 hours with ANC on out of these buds, and then I think that what you get out of the case is perfectly sufficient. So overall, on battery, I'm gonna call it for the Bose. Now let's talk about design, and the most obvious issue here is that the Bose buds are significantly larger than the AirPods Pro. That bulk, do you feel it? Well, yeah, a little bit. When I put it in my ear, I'm definitely aware that it's occupying more space in my ear, although they're not so heavy that I feel like they are bulking out of my ear, even though they definitely are. With the AirPods Pro, the feel is a bit different. They're lighter, okay, for one thing, and for another, they slip in just a little bit deeper in the canal without taking up as much space. You get a great seal with both, provided that they'll actually fit your ears. More on that in a second. With the AirPods Pro, though, you're obviously getting that sort of status symbol looking design. It's polarizing, some people don't like it, but those who do are really proud to wear these in their ears because you know they're an AirPods Pro, right? I think the same is gonna be true for the Bose in time. That logo is definitely seeable and unmistakable. So in the same way that when somebody's walking around with their QC35-2s or their ANC 700s, you know exactly what those are when you see them. I think people are gonna definitely know what they're looking at when they see you wearing these. As for the overall look, I'll let you decide what you prefer. I'm good with either one as long as they work really well, but then we gotta start talking about comfort. So So as I mentioned before, the AirPods Pro have an oval-ish ear tip, but the ear tip is smaller, so it goes a little bit deeper into the canal and occupies less space. It's also a very light earbud, so I'm less aware that I'm wearing it for longer periods of time. With the Bose, however, when you put them in, you know you're wearing them. They take up more space within the ear. They're still very comfortable, and in fact, they're actually more secure than the AirPods Pro. I don't have a huge problem with these falling out, but these are just never coming out, right? That fin does add a lot of security. But the extra space that it takes up in your ear, you definitely feel it, and it starts wearing on you more over time, a little bit faster than with the AirPods Pro. But look, if I had to pick one earbud to live with for the rest of my life, in terms of comfortability anyway, I'd pick the AirPods Pro. Now a quick word on touch control, which I know is important to a lot of active people, people on the go, people who exercise. As you know, with the AirPods Pro, it's more of a squeeze control than it is a touch control, whereas with the Bose, it's true touch control. Now, like the AirPods Pro, the Bose have two different functions that you control on each of the sides. So a total of 4, and a long press adds another bit of functionality. They are customizable. The touch controls are responsive, but they're mostly limited. On the left-hand side, you can cycle through 3 different levels of noise canceling. On the right-hand side, you have basic play, pause, and track controls, depending on whether you tap or double tap or triple tap. It's limited, but customizable, and the customization happens through the app. With the AirPods Pro, as you know, there really isn't an app per se. You just control them through your iOS device. But with the Bose, there is an app, just like there is for the QC35-2 and ANC700. You can rename the headphones if you want to, control various different levels of noise canceling, control the touch controls, as I mentioned before, and play around with the EQ a little bit. Honestly, I don't use the Bose app very much. You certainly don't need it to pair the buds to your device. Just use your Bluetooth settings for that. But if you want to rename them, you want to check on the battery status, the app's there for you. Now, as for noise canceling, Bose invented this stuff, and I think honestly Bose wanted to have the absolute best noise canceling on the market to protect its brand, and they absolutely do have the best noise canceling you can get right now. The AirPods Pro are no slouch. I'm still impressed by what they can do, but when I did an ear-to-ear comparison, what I found is that the AirPods Pro cannot cancel out high frequency noise as well as the Bose can. And honestly, when I'm out in the street and I'm hearing those roaring buses go by and wind is going by and whirring machines are happening, the Bose successfully cancel that stuff out better than the AirPods Pro, hands down. Now let's talk about call quality. Right now, you're listening to the audio from the AirPods Pro, and as I've come to learn, you're probably hearing right now, it has a sort of digitized robotic sound to it. But my main gripe with these is that when I'm using them and the ANC is on in full effect, it definitely affects my ability to hear my own voice. Okay, now you're listening to the audio from the Bose QuietComfort earbuds, and hopefully you notice that the clarity is a little bit better. It doesn't have that sort of digitized sound to it. Unfortunately, what I've noticed in testing these is that if I'm conversing with somebody, when I start speaking, it starts a little bit quiet, almost not audible, and then finally gets to the level that you need, which is a little bit annoying. However, what I really like about these is that it pipes in just a little bit of my voice, but none of the noise around me. So I don't feel like I'm yelling when I speak. And to me, that's a huge bonus. So overall, for call quality, I'm going to call it for the Bose. Now we get to my favorite part, the audio quality. And with all due respect to the Apple AirPods Pro, which I think are still some of the best sounding things that Apple has ever made, the Bose QuietComfort earbuds sound fantastic and far, far better than the Apple AirPods Pro. I mean, for a music enthusiast, these are definitely the way to go. Now, I think that there is some room to discuss how well they do against the Sennheiser Momentum or the Sony XM3 earbuds, but this is a very rich, exciting experience. The bass is deep and defined. It's not boomy at all. The mid-range is just luscious and liquid and very clear, which is partially due to the high frequency representation, which is extremely accurate, very, very fast. And by fast, I mean when you hear transients, like a drumstick hitting a cymbal, it's immediate and just so, I hate using the word crisp, but it is crisp and it's on point. Bottom line, they sound fantastic. And if you're considering these earbuds, go have a listen if you want to. Take yourself some sanitation or whatever. Maybe just, order them up, try them out, and return them if they don't work out well, but you've got to hear these to believe it. I enjoy Bose's audio quality in general with their headphones anyway, but these are just, they're doing it for me. So how do I feel about the Bose QuietComfort earbuds? Well, as I just mentioned, the sound quality is fantastic. The noise canceling is the best out there. The call quality is very, very good. They're certainly very comfortable, albeit a bit bulky, and the case is a little bit bulkier than I would like it to be. They're also fairly expensive, a little bit more than the AirPods Pro by like 30 or 40 bucks whenever you're looking. But I would have to say that these are kind of a win for me. They serve the purpose that they intend to. This is for music enthusiasts, this is for executives, people on the go. There is a sport version of this earbud that might be more appropriate for really active people who are doing a lot of exercising, but still, this would work just fine due to the security of the buds. Whether they are your bag in terms of look and fit is going to be a very individual choice. But if you want to talk about just sheer performance, does Bose accomplish its goal of making one of the best wireless earbuds you can buy? Absolutely. Now, versus the AirPods Pro, I still think that these have a very specific kind of audience, and I still think that they perform very well given their price point, even though that happens to be a little on the pricey side. But we're starting to see these on sale every once in a while too. And they have a very unique appeal to Apple users that you just can't get out of the Bose. So these certainly have their place. So would I replace the Apple AirPods Pro, which have been my go-to since they came out, with the Bose QuietComfort earbuds? At the end of the day, while these are a great everyday headphone, the Bose really do it for me in a way that the AirPods can't. It really comes down to the sound quality and the noise canceling capability. That's what I want these particular kinds of earbuds for. Otherwise, I can go for full-size cans, or I could even use wired headphones if I wanted to. This is a really awesome package. It'll cost you a bit, but you definitely get what you pay for.